Hello, everyone. We are live, and thank you for joining us for the Inner Strength Empowerment Hour today. I am Lori DePietro stand-in, and I am here with my coaches, Joanne and also Lori, LT. And we are going to talk to you today about why a plant-based diet is the answer. And I think it's a really heavy question because it does answer so many of your issues. And you don't know that going in because most of us are focused on the symptom, which is the weight. And it definitely gets the weight off, right? Yes, ladies? So yep. Both of these ladies have lost a considerable amount of weight, as have I. But it also addresses so many other things. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is both how it addresses the weight loss and how it addresses so many other issues that you're having, especially right now when people are feeling out of control. The stress is making them consume things to a degree that they weren't even before. So even people who were struggling before, I'm talking to women every day, that are in our big group, not in my program, but they're saying, I've gained anywhere from 10 to 50 pounds since this happened, depending on who they are. Or they're drinking a lot, they're eating a lot of, their comfort foods or their trigger foods, and they're stressed out. And so that's the issue, is that a plant-based diet changes things on more than one level. Because we don't, the reason I put that question out there yesterday to the group, which is, what is your philosophy on weight loss? Is it like, I want to get healthy and get this weight off and do it permanently? Or is it, I don't really care how it comes off, I just want it off right now and I'll figure the rest out later, which is that's what yo-yo dieting is. That's the basis of it. Or is it, I'm miserable every day, but the reality is I haven't made any significant changes, and I don't see myself being in a position to do that mentally. Because you can all make choices to make these decisions. I mean, this is not an expensive way to live. And so there's a lot of excuses out there, but the truth is you can make changes. And so when you're not making changes, that isn't it's an issue that has to do with your mindset. So I wanted to put that out there to kind of challenge you guys to think about it. And everyone who answered it, of course, answered, I'm 100% committed, but that's because the people who weren't committed didn't answer. And I get it. It's you feel overwhelmed by it. And so that's why we wanted to break it down today. So thank you to everyone who is on Facebook watching today. So when I, over the past a little over a week, I've been talking to you guys about the 6 super truths. This is the 6th one. But the 5 leading up to this are that weight is a symptom. I mean, we all say that weight is the problem. If I ask you what the problem is, you're most likely to say, I need to lose 50 pounds or whatever that number is. But the truth is, it's a symptom of a lot of things, and we all really know that. We talked about the addiction and the bliss point, that all of the standard American diet, both dairy and all of these processed foods and fast foods and things that we eat are addictive. And any manufactured food is, the companies do many studies to come up with a bliss point, which is the exact amount of salt, sugar, and fat to make you addicted to whatever they're selling. And they don't have to disclose that. They've been doing it for years. It's perfectly legal. And there's a book about it called Salt, Sugar, Fat by a prize-winning journalist, Michael Moss. So you should pick that up. It's an infuriating but fascinating read. But this is why we feel like we don't have any willpower. This is why we feel like that we can't, consistently follow something like Weight Watchers, or they're like, just get out 10 chips. or whatever, because these foods are physically addictive. And anything that's physically addictive also has a psychologically addictive component as well. So when you're stressed out, you're going to go for these foods that are physically addictive, but they also are producing endorphins that are going to make them psychologically addictive to you as well. The cycle, that the third truth is that all of these, the diets that we have out there, that are in the diet industry worldwide is over $1 trillion industry. And it is, all of our diets are based on the standard American diet. And that is about 70% processed food, about 25% meat and dairy, and somewhere around 5 to 6% vegetables and fruits. And so you have diets that are either, heavy processed foods like shakes and bars and all of these things that people are selling, or you have something like Weight Watchers that is calorie deprivation, but basically like you can still eat everything you want, right? That's basically, they've changed their marketing a bit over the years, but that's basically what they're saying. If you look at any of their advertisements, they're all like, I can still eat whatever I want. I just keep it in my points, right? But you're still consuming those addictive foods. And so as soon as you have a bad day, you're going to go right back to eating more than your points. So that's why it doesn't work. And then you have things like keto, right? You're saying, yeah, cut out that all of that processed stuff, but then you don't get any fiber. So you have to take all these supplements and you're not getting the right nutrition. So you're taking all these supplements and you're consuming usually a ton of dairy, which is highly addictive because of the casomorphins, and also designed in a way to bring a 70-pound calf to a 1,000-pound adult in the course of a year. It is laden with hormones. And so women are coming to me constantly who've done keto, who not only gain the weight back, but gain the weight back plus much more. They've also decreased their insulin resistance. So their diabetes is actually getting worse. They get gout. They have high cholesterol. So there's a whole other host of problems. And what this does is it keeps you in that cycle of the standard American diet, which leads to the diet industry, which leads to the medical industry. And that's how we stay in the loop and yo-yo diet and get sicker and heavier as years go on for the rest of our lives. The fourth truth is that women are trapped in this society in a self view, because we view each other this way, that we have to be selfless, that we have to be perfect. We have to be able to do it all, right? Bring home the bacon, cook it up in a pan, and look perfect while we're doing it. And that we can't show anger. And we can't show sadness. We have to be emotionless. We have to be Stepford wives. And if we are reaching any kind of Zen level of emotional maturity, then we just walk around like it's sunshine and roses all the time. And if you don't, there must be something wrong. So that in and of itself is creating a minefield for you, where you are going to be constantly self-sabotaging because you can't achieve that. That's not achievable, nor should we look to that as what needs to be achieved. And the fifth truth is that boundaries and structure for yourself and others are key in order for you to move forward past this into a different type of life. So that is where the plant-based eating comes in. So I wanted to just recap for everybody what those truths are, so that you understand how plant-based eating, as we go into this conversation, is the gateway into all of this. So the first question, and again, I hope that I'm looking over here because this is where my phone is. So in my mind, over here is Facebook. So I will be looking at your comments, but feel free to pipe in with any questions or comments that you have, please. So the first question that I have for both of you, we grow up in the standard American diet, and I've been doing this for a really long time. And I know 15 years ago when I switched to a plant-based diet, everybody I knew, their heads exploded. Like, what are you doing? It's easier now. but it is still, you get pushback. So were you guys skeptical about the ability of a plant-based diet to really affect your weight and health? And why or why not? Like, what was your thinking there?
Well, I wasn't skeptical about it. I knew that that was the route I needed to go. I'm kind of a research junkie. And
Okay.
so I had bought all the books, I had watched all the things on YouTube, and I really knew that that was the right route to go. The only, I guess, skepticism I would have had in it is my ability to do it the right way, because I kind of played around with it. You know, I went, you know, for a couple months making smoothies every day and taking out all the processed food. And I did feel a little bit better, but I didn't know what I was doing. So I think my skepticism in trying to transition fully to a plant-based lifestyle was that I didn't know what I was doing and I wouldn't be able to maintain it.
Okay. All right. What about you, LT?
I was not skeptical because, like Joanne, I had read a lot about it before I ever signed on to come with you. And I just thought this is what's going to do it, because I'm going to be getting rid of a lot of sugar, and I'm going to be getting rid of a lot of fats. It's going to be regular old food. The only thing that I was a little skeptical of was that I was not a big cook. I mean, I got it done. It was just something that we did, you know, but I wouldn't say that I was very efficient or thought that that was my stronghold, was being in the kitchen. So that's what I was most worried about was, am I going to be able to fix what I need and be okay with it? Because
Okay.
I cooked a lot of casseroles. And when you cook casseroles all the time, you're using some sort of condensed soup. And we would put butter and
A lot of
cheese
dairy.
and Ritz crackers on the top. So, and then, you know, you throw a can of green beans on the side or something, you know, with it, or a pan of rolls. So I was worried about how that was going to translate as far as how my eating was going to be. But I knew that it was the right thing to do. I knew the eating was right.
Were you scared of that, Joanne? Because I know you cook a little bit more. So, like, what were you worried?
No, not about I wasn't worried about being able to cook, because I do cook a lot and I like cooking, and being in the kitchen is kind of like my happy place, because that's where I do my creativity.
Yeah.
So I wasn't necessarily scared of how to prepare stuff. I think I was just thinking it was going to be so limited that it was going to be like we're just going to eat the same 3 things every day, because I didn't know the vastness of how much there was in the plant-based world. I thought it was like smoothies and salads, and that's it.
I think a lot of people think that.
Yeah, and that's how I had done it before. When I had attempted it, that's what I was doing, was the smoothies and the raw vegetables, and that's why it didn't work.
Right. that gets old pretty fast.
Yeah.
And it's not satisfying, you know, all the time. So yeah, I wasn't, you know, I think I was just so sick that I actually didn't think that far ahead. I just dove into it, which is kind of my personality anyway. I just was like, I'm doing this. I'm doing it. Here we go. That's it. You know? And so I sort of was learning as I went, and I made some really crappy recipes at the beginning that my family was like, no, we're not going to be eating that. And I was like, I know. Yeah, we're throwing this out. But you know, you guys get to benefit from my mistakes early on, because I learned a lot of good lessons. But yeah, I think that I went into it sort of just like, I'm doing it, and I didn't really think about that part. I'm sort of probably between the two of you in terms of cooking. I don't love it, but which might seem strange to some of you guys, because I am in recipe creation. But I'm in recipe creation because at the beginning, I would look at recipes and there were like 30, 40 ingredients. And I was like, surely to God, there is an easier way to do this. And so I started really gravitating towards creating things that were simple. And so that's really how I got into it. And I wanted things that were simple and fast. So you said you both of you mentioned that you did the research, as did I. What for you in that research was compelling? What did you read that you were like, this is obviously what I need? What made you go that way?
Well, I think a lot of the videos that I had watched, and even, you know, some of the different doctors that are in the industry, one of the main things I kept hearing, because like you, I was sick. I was very sick, and my body was failing. And so for me, that was a big component. And I just kept hearing over and over the testimonials of people saying, this changed my whole body. It changed my whole life. It changed, you know, I couldn't get off the couch before, and now I'm running a marathon or whatever, which has kind of been my experience here. But
Right.
it's like, I kind of knew that the healing portion of it was what I needed if I was going to actually live any longer. But I really was interested in how whole foods, all, you know, mostly veggies and grains and plant-based proteins. I was interested in how that could heal me, could
Right.
heal all of the things I had going on.
Yeah, same. What about you, Lori?
Well, I had a couple of things. I had a doctor that was on the verge of wanting to put me on blood pressure medication and cholesterol medication. So that was a big impetus for me because I did not want to be on that. And also, besides the obvious of the weight loss, I mean, that was a big thing because I just wanted something that was going to be consistent. I was at this point highly fed up with being on the yo-yo. I mean, we're all fed up with it, but I'd had it up to here. I mean, I was done. I was not doing it anymore.
You had done many more than most of us.
I had, and I had just said that I'm going to do something that is real food, and I'm just going to learn how to prepare it and manage it. And this is what I'm going to do. And I just believed that I could. And really nothing is special about me with this at all. I mean, we've all said it, but it's truly not. The only thing that is special about me in this is I believed, and I have been consistent. I will pat myself on the back for that. I have been consistent. And you know what? I'm getting consistent results.
Right.
Yeah, you are.
But I think it's exactly what you said, though, that you decided, I want to learn to do this the right way.
I really did. And I wanted it to be with real things that I go buy in the grocery store and prepare that you do for the rest of your life. I didn't want a gimmick. I didn't want a frozen. I didn't want a shake. I didn't want a bar. I didn't want a shot.
Right.
Or peel. I did not want any of that.
Right.
Mm-mm.
Linda says, I agree. I knew this was the correct way to eat, but I didn't know how to do it right. I also allowed myself to be trapped by how others ate. I had to change my mindset. So yeah, we're going to get to that in a second because that's a big barrier for a lot of women, which we have talked about in a previous episode. Ladies, we have a file in the Facebook group where you can view all of the episodes and the titles of them. But we talked about how your partner eats can hold you back. So definitely visit that. So what obstacles, when you went into this, were there any obstacles that you thought, okay, I feel like this is going to be the hardest thing? I know, Lori, for you, one of the things that you mentioned was the cooking. You thought like that's going to be a big obstacle. Was there anything else that I
just knew that I lived with a family of snackers and that they were going to continue to do what they were going to do. I mean, my husband's 55. He's doing what he's going to do. And here's a prime example. Last night, I do not buy cinnamon rolls. Cinnamon rolls are on my sphere. If we talked about the sphere plant, they're way out in the left field over here. Don't buy them. You know why? Because I love them. So I'm not going to do it. Well, you know who stopped by the grocery store last night and obviously bought him a little old can of cinnamon rolls and started baking them up here about 10 o'clock last night. And of course, that smell's coming on through. I didn't say a word. But you know what? I didn't even think about wanting one. I just thought, I cannot even believe I used to eat all this. And looking at all that icing dripping from the side of it, I was like, no. And so that was my main thing, because I knew that I had some cereal eaters and some Pop-Tart eaters and some cinnamon roll eaters. And I knew that was going to be in my world.
The temptation.
It's going to be there.
Was still be there. What do you think? All right, I'll get to that in a second, because I want to know, and I think what a lot of women, want to know, is how how did you make that firm commitment to not eat those things? So I'll get to that in a second. But Lori or Joanne, what about you? What was your what did you think the obstacles were going to be? Was it similar?
It was, yeah, it was similar because of the lifestyle we had been living already, and all of that stuff was in our world. So, and we like to go out a lot. We go out on weekends, and it's, you know, we go eat, which is part of the problem, is that we celebrate with food so much of the time. Like, we're celebrating with food like 5 days a week instead of when it should be happening, you know, intermittently. But so I just figured, you know, going out was going to be a problem. Family functions, those kind of things I knew were going to be hard.
Right. Yeah, I did a blog once, and I'll have to share it in the group, where I talked about how in the United States, everything is a special occasion.
Everything.
Everything is a special occasion.
Every day.
And you can't live like that. You can't, I mean, you can make it a special occasion as long as it's not centered around unhealthy food. It's not just that it's a special occasion, it's that it comes with its own set of unhealthy food. And so we're we're tailgating and we're celebrating, you know, oh, you're pregnant, or oh, you're you're engaged, and then we're going to the wedding, and oh wait, you're getting divorced, let's go out, let's, you know, like, it doesn't matter. We can come up with anything. You got a new job, oh, you quit your job, let's go. Like, it doesn't matter. And so that's, you know, especially as we go into this time of year, I'm always talking to people like, okay, there are some special occasions coming up, but not every day. Every day is not it. But yeah, it does become a culture for us. So both of you had thought this through a bit. What made you choose my program over whatever else you saw out there? And to be honest with you, I know a little bit of what's out there. I don't do a lot of investigation because I have my own thing going on, but I assume that you guys have. So what made you choose this over something else?
Well, I read your bio, and it was everything that was wrong with me at the time. It was it was almost word for word what I was feeling, and in my mind, I was literally dying, and I didn't know that there was a way out of it, because I was, like I told you, was going to the doctor telling him, look, I have some weird disease, you need to figure this out and do all these tests. When I saw what you had written, and it was the same things I was feeling, and you fixed yourself with your diet, I knew. And plus all the stuff I had already done research on, I'm like, well, that was the answer all along, and I just really need to do it. And here's the person that's already done it, and she's actually turned everything around, and maybe that'll work for me.
Is this the same doctor that you told us about recently, who, like, you actually were saying to him, like, you need to try a plant-based diet?
Yeah, I'm going back to check on him, because now he has changed his line of thinking, because all this time, and I had a good relationship with him because I've been going to him for so many years. So we would joke, and, you know, even on my not this last one, but a year ago, he even said to me, he goes, look, please don't take this personally, because we did, you know, have a good rapport. He's like, don't take this personally, but on that little sheet they give you at the end, he said, I have to write this word. I know you're not going to like it, but don't take it personally. And he wrote, obesity was my diagnosis. And I was like, oh, you just broke my heart. But he's like, I know, but that's the only thing that's wrong with you right now. And I mean, it was causing all of these other things to malfunction, but really it was because I was so overweight.
Yeah. Now, do you want to share what your weight was, or no?
It was 100. When I went to him that last time, it was 194 pounds. And then we went on spring break, and after spring break, and, you know, we went to Florida, we went to Disney, we did it all. And when I called you, I was 198 pounds.
Yeah.
Which I'm only 5'3". So that's a lot of extra weight and inflammation.
Right. And so, and Joanne soon will be showing some, sharing some pictures
Yes.
that are extraordinary before and
Yeah.
after.
I was shocked when I was going through pictures of my old self to try to find some, and because they, you know, what
was shocked.
I was shocked, and that was me in the pictures. And I said to my husband, I said, I know I don't get in many pictures, but I know sometimes you have your camera and you take pictures of me and the kids. I said, I need before pictures to show the progress that I've made. And I said, go through your pictures of right before I joined the program. I said, and find some of those horrible pictures of me, because I know you have them in there. And he's like, you know, he kind of was weirded out because he didn't know how to play that one. You know, he didn't know how to feel that. He's like, oh God, what do I say? But he kept showing me the phone. He's like, is this like, you mean like this? And I was like, holy crap. I'm like, that was me? Like, that was me. What? You know, and I looked so, you'll see them, but I really didn't even look like a person who was living.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we talk about this, how we hate looking at these pictures, but you know, we walked around in the world like this.
Yeah.
I hate them too. I hate looking at them too. But you know, I just know that it is a progression. I've made a big change, a dramatic change. Mm-hmm. And like Lori told us, she said, you know, that girl was sad and scared. And that's just the way that we're going to view it. We've just turned the corner, and now we're brave and strong.
Right. Yeah, I think it's easy to feel shameful about those things. And what we were talking about last night, for those of you guys listening, is, you know, that it is kind of, it can feel embarrassing to share, you know, those pictures, because you remember how self-conscious you were at the time. And just, and as a caveat, I just want to say that it's not about, I believe that you can be beautiful at any weight. So this isn't so much about that. It's about the fact that you can't get up and down off the floor or walk a flight of stairs or comfortably sit maybe in on a plane or in a, you know what I mean? There's things that make you feel self-conscious that really aren't so much about even the looks. So yeah, we will we'll definitely be talking about that more, as well as the emotional part about that. But so Lori, how did you choose my program? For a similar reason, because of my testimony, or was it something else?
Your testimony spoke to me, and then we were the same age, and that you had done this for 15 years and kept this off. And when you said, are you tired of being on the yo-yo train? I physically said out loud, I really am. Yeah. I really said that out loud as I read it. And
yes, so I am.
You darn tootin' I am, and let's get off of it.
Yeah.
And so that's really what spoke to me on that, is that you had success in this. You were my age. I didn't have all the physical problems that you had at that time, but my gosh, it was probably a matter of time before it was gonna, you know, some of my physical things were happening. But I definitely knew that the cholesterol and the blood pressure, I needed to get that under control for sure.
And for those of you who don't know, I am 50. I'm about to turn 51 here in a minute. So just because she's talking about us being the same age. So when you started the program, for both of you, did you commit 100% right away? And, you know, why or why not? What was the beginning of it like?
Well, I'm like exactly like you. If I'm doing this, I'm doing this. Like I'm all in, and I'm kind of extreme that way, because that's how it is with anything with me. Like if we're moving, we're moving. Like pack it up, we're going. Pack it up, we're going. And so I was 100% committed, because I really knew that this was my probably last chance to get it right. And there was not going to be somebody else coming along going, here, I'm going to help you. No, nobody's coming along to help me. And you were the closest thing that said, I'm going to help you because I've been you. I've been where you are. And so I was 100% committed from day one. The interesting thing that happened, though, because this is what happens, I started your program in July, and that was easy because it was summer. I didn't have any, you know, I volunteer at the school a lot, and I didn't have any commitments at that time. And my kids were going into high school. And so when they started high school and I started volunteering around September, I got derailed big time, because I didn't know what high school was all about. And it demands a lot of you when you sign that little volunteer note. It's not like signing up when they're in grade school. It's a lot different. And so I got derailed pretty quickly in going places and carting kids and going here and going there. So that was hard for me to figure out how to get back on track.
Right. And what do you feel? I know you and I had many conversations during that time.
Yeah.
What, which is the key when you're struggling to communicate.
Yeah, and that's what it was. That was the only thing that I can look back and say is that, you know, being in the group and having the group support and doing the mindset work. And I will probably get into this because like you said, it's about this way of eating being the gateway. But I think if I didn't have that few months under my belt of getting the garbage out of my system and getting that brain fog gone, I wouldn't have even been mentally capable to do the mindset work. So, you know, the mindset work is what kept me on track and kept me figuring out why I was derailing in the first place. But I think if I would have just still been putting that garbage in my body, it would have given me so much fatigue, so much brain fog, so much pain in my joints that I wouldn't have been able to get back on track.
Right. Yeah, I think it's, you know, I was thinking about an analogy for this because I'm the queen of analogies, but I was thinking like if you're drowning and you're hanging on to, you know, a life raft, and somebody comes up to you and says, "Hey, let me teach you how to swim." Like you're going to be like, "I'm just trying to survive right now.
That's
Like
exactly
I'm just hanging on to this for dear life." So you have to kind of get out of that panic mode that you're in the beginning with your physicality before you can really, before you can really, like you said, dive into the mindset stuff. Susie says, I had leaned more to a plant-based diet for a few years. And even though I felt great doing it, I always seemed to slip back into bad eating. My wake-up call was in January when my mammogram came back not good and I had to go have a biopsy done. I knew my way of eating had to change. Yep. Yeah. So sometimes it is like with me, like a rock bottom moment where you're like, oh shit. Like it's now or never, literally. Yeah. What about you, Lori? So the question was, did you commit? And 100%. Okay.
I jumped in with both feet in the deep end and I said, I'm doing this. And you know what really helped me the most, because I have learned this about myself and I've embraced it. I used to not like it, but now I embrace it. I need accountability. And when I'm surrounded by accountability, I thrive. I've always been that way. When people aren't checking on me as much, and I used to hate it because I used to say, I wish I didn't have to check in with people. I wish I didn't have to write it down. Why do I have to go do this and do, you know? And why can't I just do this on my own? But you know what? I now know I need that little area. I need that little layer for me, and I still send you my way. I just need it, and it's part of who I am now, and it really helps me. I love the boundary of it because it helps me stay in a structure. And it just helps me be present all the time because I know I'm going to be weighing in and I'm going to be sending it to somebody. So I'm not going to eat this, this, and this. I'm going to keep doing this. And that's what works for me.
Okay. But like, I feel though, just for the people out here who are listening, what we do in the group in terms of our accountability is way different than like Weight Watchers. Like I felt like in Weight Watchers, you go up to the front and you weigh in. It was a very public, like,
oh yeah.
I felt it was, I just felt like it was a really judgmental, I hated going to those things. So how do you guys feel like the way that we do accountability is different, if you have words to put to that?
Yeah, you're doing it on your own. You don't even have to send your weight in, or that is totally up to you. We offer it as a layer. If you want to add on to kind of level up with that, you don't have to do it. But I think the way that we just say that we're responsible adults, you're doing it on your own. We're going to trust you, give you the benefit of the doubt that what you say is what's happening. Nobody's going to judge you, shame you, call you out, make you feel bad and say, oh my gosh, you only lost a half a pound. What's wrong with that? We're like, half a pound. Woo! We do things like this. So we're always more towards the positive end, always, instead of the negative, what's wrong end. Like, why can't you do this end?
Right.
Yeah.
And it's not like a public, I remember going to the Weight Watchers meetings and you're standing in line like cattle, waiting to go up to the next thing
with your little card.
Okay, everybody move along, and you go up and you step on that scale, and I just remember the anxiety of standing in that line waiting, and and I feel like here it's more private because with the coaches, I can reach out to any of the people that I'm working with in private, and they can, I feel like maybe they're more apt to share it with me because they know it's just me. There's nobody else looking at them. There's nobody else.
Right.
They don't have to tell me their weight at all. I encourage them to step on a scale as a tool to know where you're starting from. Because if somebody would have said to me, you're going to be 200 pounds, I would have said, no, I'm not. Well, guess what? I was 198 pounds, and that was shocking to me, and that was a wake-up call to me. So I do encourage the women that I work with, just get on a scale. If you don't have one, get a scale, weigh somewhere, just to see where you're starting from. And I think that accountability, that wake-up call, you need that. You really need to do that for your own health. So I feel like the private connection we have, because some of them, I won't even, it's not like, oh, Saturday morning, you have to get in line and fess up. I will contact them throughout the week and, say, hey, how you doing? How are things going?
Right.
And they'll reach out to me in private if they need to. So I feel like that level of accountability is different too.
I think also what I keep hearing over and over again from the women in our group is that they feel the freedom to be honest, and that they don't feel like they have to hide if they're not doing well, that they can actually come out. We regularly have women come out and say, I'm having a rough week. And you have 20 women coming up behind them like, I was there a few weeks ago, here's what I did, or you're doing great, or how can I help, and sending a private message, it's such a supportive environment. And that's, I think, the key. I think when people feel like they can't be honest is, when like if I'm not doing well, I might as well not show up, and so that's the thing I think is the key too. So, how soon, both of you committed right away, how soon did you start seeing results, and what were they?
I started seeing results the first 3 days. Honestly, like with the juice cleanse that we do just to break your cravings, because I'm very sensitive to gluten, and I'm very sensitive, I think I have a lot of food sensitivities actually. So just getting all that stuff out of my system 100%, because we're like, oh, I'm going to cut back on dairy, or I'm going to cut back on sugar. And you never really know how far gone you are, but you don't know how good you can actually feel. So in that first week, when I got all of that stuff out of my system, the results were like astounding to myself. And I could even, in the first week, the inflammation in my face that went down shocked me. When I would walk past the mirror, I'm like, whose cheekbones are those? Like, where did those come from? And, seeing stuff like that so quickly, even before the weight came off, seeing that puffiness and the inflammation go away, it was very shocking, and it was immediate for me.
Yeah. And I, just so people know, so what we do at the beginning is just 5 days, and it is not a fast. It's just a combination of fresh juices and good food. So it's nothing crazy. We don't do supplements or anything weird. but it does do the trick in terms of getting rid of your cravings, and it starts to get rid of that bloat and inflammation immediately, which is amazing. What about you, Laura? What did you see? What
I
was
saw
it?
it week one. Week one, it was such a radical change for me from what I had been doing. I mean, this was a very dramatic shift, but I committed to it and I saw the change. And, you know, I lost over 7 pounds that first week. And I know that a lot of it is, you know, the bloat and that kind of thing. But when you start getting encouraging
Because you
numbers,
don't gain that back. That's the thing. People think you're going to lose that and then gain it back the next week, but you don't. Like, you lose that much the first week and then you don't gain it back. So that's right. I think important to tell people too.
Yeah, I want to say, I feel like I should knock on wood or just, but I have lost every single week that I've been since I've started cooking. I have not maintained, I have not gained, I have had a minus every week.
Yep.
And this has been for 7 months.
And not feeling deprived.
Not at all. As a matter of fact, feeling quite the opposite. Feeling satisfied, feeling, you know, happy with it. Not having that sickness, that bloat. I've learned what that feeling is. I now know what that is, that satisfied feeling. And I'm actually enjoying all the foods. You feel a fullness, just a happiness with it. You know, kind of like you did something right. You know, it's kind of that, you know how you get that little feeling? Like I'm doing something good for myself.
It's an alignment, I think, when you know that you're doing the right thing for your body, you really feel in alignment. And so, and
absolutely,
because of, you know, the gut healing that happens with a plant-based diet naturally balances your gut flora and it's naturally alkaline. And so because so much is happening in your gut in terms of your immunity and also your mood, because that's where most of your serotonin is produced, then you start to have a peace of mind just because your gut is working properly. It's also where your estrogen is metabolized. So your hormones can be all over the place just from the fact that your gut is out of order.
Yeah. And that's what surprised me. Wasn't expecting that. And then got that and thought, this is it.
The hot flashes, you mentioned that, I think a couple of times that when we've talked, that I was the same way. Those hot flashes were, or not, well, the hot flashes are bad. The night sweats.
The night sweats were the worst. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was just brutal. And so, yeah, when you stabilize your hormones, it's like you're living a whole different life.
It is.
Completely.
It is like you get your life back. So what about eating this way has surprised you? So if you think about where you were before and some of the issues that you thought you might have, eating the same things over and over again, you know, not really being able to cook the right stuff, or maybe it wasn't going to be flavorful, whatever. What has surprised you about this way of eating?
I think the variety of what's out there has surprised me, like what you can do with vegetables. I think I just kind of had the idea that you either steamed vegetables or you roasted vegetables. Yeah. And I had no idea there were other things, you know, you can make Alfredo sauce out of cashews, or you could make, you know, there's so much variety that I didn't know existed. And that's what has made this a sustainable thing, because I don't feel, not even one bit, I don't feel like I'm missing any of the things I would have, you know, had in my life previously. I don't feel like I'm missing any of them because I get all the same types of meals. I can eat pasta, I can eat grains. I guess I didn't realize before that grains would be a part of a plant-based diet. I don't know why that didn't occur to me, but and the different types of proteins that was kind of an eye-opener for me, and that's what made it sustainable. And I think that's what shocked me, was I didn't think this was going to be sustainable. I only really, those real weirdo people who are really into being, you know, vegan for moral reasons or ethical reasons, like those people are committed on a level that I wasn't committed. And so I thought those were the kind of people who make this a long-lasting thing. I didn't think I would be able to do that. And it's been 16 months and I haven't looked back. And now I feel like it's here, it's not going anywhere. I'm not looking back. So I think that was my main thing, is just that it wouldn't be sustainable.
I think that people don't realize that most people who are plant-based eaters are foodies. We
Mm-hmm.
actually love flavor and combinations, and just like it is a passion. So we're not eating
Mm-hmm.
stuff that's bland, and
No.
we're not eating things. I actually got a plant-based dish from somewhere out the other day that specializes in that thing, and I it was something, it was a place that people had recommended to me around here. And I got it home and I tasted it and I said to my husband, the lack of seasoning in this thing actually pisses me off. Like, I'm actually
Yeah.
angry. This is not properly seasoned because I love flavor. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing, is you don't realize is that there's just so much great food out there to be had, and it's easy to make. I know you're the queen of that, Joanne, of easy, delicious
Mm-hmm.
meals and interesting combinations. So, all
Well,
right,
and
so
that's
now
why I know you like the Panera bowl, the grain bowl
the
from
grain
Panera.
bowl. Yeah,
I know you really like that, but that bowl pisses me off because I think, first of all, it's $10, which,
it is.
I don't mind. If we're out, I'm going to choose to pay the $10 to
Yeah,
make myself feel good, and
yeah,
not go off the rails. But when I get that home, I'm just digging through stuff like put a little of this, put a little of that, because I think for $10, they could make a little better effort and make it taste a
oh,
little bit better, because I know what I make at home tastes 1,000 times better than that. And I'm not spending $10 to make a meal. I can tell you that.
yeah. Panera is expensive.
Yeah.
That's the way I feel about all the Panera food, because I used to eat their other stuff too. But yeah, that's,
Yeah.
to me, I like it because it has flavor and I can get it when I'm out and it's easy. But yeah, it is $10.
Yeah, it is easy and it's more flavorful than a lot of the other things that I've found, but it still makes me mad that they could put a little
Yeah.
more effort into
Yeah.
it.
More effort. What about
Yes.
you, LT?
Well, I was surprised at all of the different ingredients that go into making something that were natural ingredients, the sweeteners, just things I had never heard of and thought of. So I guess I just must have thought that I wasn't going to be able to have anything sweet or, something
Yeah.
supposedly fun to eat, but we do. And it's just all in how it's prepped. It's all in how it's planned. And, we have lots of great things, not only in your cookbook, but just in general. It really is an endless variety.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't think that I had thought that far ahead, that there was that much
Right.
really available to us. And it's things that you already like anyway. Like you say, what do you really, really like? Well, let's just switch it around and veganize it.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's so easy to do. What they've actually shown through, like, they just do these observational studies, is that people who eat a standard American diet actually eat less variety. They actually end up eating the same things over and over again,
Mm-hmm.
whereas people who are on a plant-based diet have way more variety in their diet. And so that's definitely, like you were saying right at the beginning, Joanne, like, you think it's all like smoothies and salads or something, and it's really not.
No.
Mm-mm.
So how, for both of you, because I know both of you handle this a little bit differently. LT, you do a combination of cooking and some meal service,
Yep.
and Joanne does all cooking. So how separately for you guys have your families responded? Because you both have kids, you both are married, and so this was a question going in, like, how is this going to work with all these people in the house? So how is it going?
Well, it's hot and cold over here. Sometimes I'm not gonna lie, I have two teenagers and I have a husband who is a junk food person. So, and
But
I
he's
was right
also
there with
lost
you.
a bunch of weight though, right?
He did in the beginning, when he first came home when the quarantine started back in March. Yeah, he was full on the plan with me. And he felt really great, amazingly. And he lost a bunch of weight, and I think he's maintained that weight loss, but he's back to eating whatever. And same with the kids, they're hot and cold. They will eat some of the things that, it depends on their mood. If they're open to trying something, they will. And if they're not, they don't. And we've gone the full spectrum of, I'm I'm making you eat this. I'm asking you to eat this. I'm just putting it out there so you can look at it. And if you want to eat it on your own free will, you can. I've done all of it, and it's just the way it goes. You know, I'm not going to be able to change their minds by forcing it on them. So I'm just leading by example.
So, but do you feel like it's a lot of extra work for you if you're making food for everybody? Because I think that's the thing that holds women back is they're like, well, now I'm just going to be doing twice as much work as I normally do. Do you feel that way?
Well, in the beginning, you know, I did, but I think the main thing about that is setting boundaries and setting the boundary, because if I'm the one going grocery shopping and I'm the only one in this house that cooks, if I'm going to make a meal, you're either going to eat it or you're not. Or, you know, like I'm going to put it out there. I'm going to have choices. And like with the batch cooking and some of the things that my family will eat, it's more of a, like I make a lot of rice bowls with stir fry vegetables and a protein on the side. So everything is separate, and you can make your meal how you want it. If you just want to eat a bowl of rice tonight, fine, eat a bowl of rice. I'm not going to completely shove it down their throats, because I know with teenagers, that's not going to be how it works out. So I put it out there, and you know, actually one of them just came to me, and they've been feeling kind of garbagey lately because school is hard and they're stressed out and they've been junking out a little bit too much. And she just came to me and said, you know, she's ready to get, and this is my picky eater. This is the one who just eats the rice and never will fight me to eat a vegetable like World War III. And so she came to me and she said, you know, she's ready. She's ready. So Monday, we're gonna make a big fresh start, and we're gonna approach it a little bit differently this time. So I would say it's hot and cold, and I would say it's about setting those boundaries.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a plan that I put out, as you guys know, in the group, where I talk about how you can make component meals. So like if you're making tacos or you're making a bowl, or even if you're just making sides with different protein, that way you're not making separate meals for everybody. And I do encourage women to get empowered, because if you are the one doing the shopping and the cooking, you're not a maid. You have the power to decide what, if they want to make something else, they can make it. With little kids, I love bento boxes because they can pick it. They love to graze. What is it with little kids and grazing? So like they don't love to sit down and eat a meal, but they love these bento boxes. So you can put healthy options in there with a couple of maybe their favorites that aren't as healthy, but they can pick around, and they love that, and they get more nutrition that way. So we have lots of options for things like that. But I always also kept, for my teenager, I keep Amy's or Sweet Earth frozen meals too. So that if he doesn't, if he absolutely refuses, and we all know that kids will do that, to eat whatever you're having at some point, then, throw him a salad, and I'm like, all right, make yourself a meal. And because those are organic and pretty high quality. So yeah, I'm not going to stress over it. Like, I'm the one doing the work here, and I am more than happy to make a healthy, delicious meal for you. And if you don't want it, that's fine. Then move on. Like that's, that was the way. It's funny because I think that a lot of us, I definitely wasn't raised like life is like, if I would have said to my mom, I don't want to eat this, what else can I have? I honestly, like, I think her head would have just exploded, and that would have been the end of it. And even though I've talked to you guys about how my mom's pretty unreasonable, I think that was probably most people's experience growing up. You didn't have a whole bunch of choices. Like, you just like, this is what you're eating. But we feel like we need to do that for our family. Like, we need to provide all these different options, and we're so careful. What does everybody want? And it doesn't, I think we've gone too far in the other direction.
Yeah, for sure.
Breaking your neck to make sure everybody's going to be happy and having all their needs met. And I'm just in a different place of life right now. I mean, I don't have these little kids anymore. I've got a senior in college and a senior in high school. They have their own cars. They have their own money. Now I'm gonna fix my plant-based meal at night. And it's like you can eat this, or you've got a vehicle and some money, go get what you want. But I'm the one primarily bringing everything home from the grocery store and doing all the prep. So they're not bringing in loads of groceries. If they're going to bring something in, if they're going to buy something bad or whatever they want to buy, processed or junk food, they're getting it themselves. And apparently my husband thinks he can do that too with his little cinnamon rolls coming up in here. And so, but it's not just bags of it. Because when I was shopping and I was eating this way, I was bringing in the bad stuff, but Mama's not bringing in the bad stuff anymore. But, and if they don't want to eat it, that's fine with me. They're not derailing what I'm doing, because I am like this on my thing, and you're not going to mess me up.
Right.
And I can say that because everybody's older and doing their own thing. I think, I don't know. I just never had to do this when they were just so underfoot and little. So I don't know what that would be like,
I did it. So I made the switch when my kids were 3, 13, and 16. So
oh, gosh.
it was a hot mess.
I'll tell you that. You hit all the buttons with that one.
It was a hot mess. But that's why I have, a clear plan that I pass on to you guys about options and ways to do things, because I've not only done it, but I know, I've worked with so many women who are doing it. But I think that what I did also in terms of snacks, there's certain trigger foods that you just don't bring into the house anymore. Like, because we sort of fool ourselves into thinking our kids can't live without certain things when we're the ones who are eating them. So but also I had my husband did a whole separate pantry where he was a big snacker, where they kept their snacks so that I didn't have to look at it all the time. Like, so, because if you open up the cabinet to get something and that's all of the stuff is there, then that makes it hard. So you put everything in a separate spot where you're not looking at it, then I know that if I'm going over to that cabinet, the only reason I'm going is to get something I shouldn't be eating because it's going to make me feel like crap. So like, that would make it easier for me. When we used to get people bring big plates of Christmas cookies and stuff to the house, and we have a finished basement. So I would just tell my husband, like, put them in the basement. If somebody wants to go down and get one, go down and get one. But we're not going to just have it like all of this crap laying out our entire holiday, so that every time you go through the kitchen, you're grabbing a cookie, and at the end of the day, you've eaten a dozen cookies. Like, because that's what we do. So like, there's also, that's setting boundaries for yourself. And setting, clear, rules with your family about, how we're going to do this. So how is this lifestyle, the main thing that I think people don't understand, or maybe don't think about, is how has this lifestyle changed the way you think? How is it different? Because you can lose weight doing any kind of crazy thing. I mean, you can starve yourself, you can, do some kind of low carb stuff. But it doesn't change the way you think. So what is your guys' perspective on that, in terms of how this has changed your thought process?
I think it's changed my thought process because I feel like I've actually done something right. All the other programs I had started and failed at, and now I feel like because you've taught me skills, like actual skills to maintain this and to go on, and unpacked all the mental stuff and did all the mindset work, I can't unlearn what you've taught me, and I can't go back to my old way of thinking. And now that I've been in this, I'm single digits from my goal weight, which was a big deal. I've never done that before. And I feel amazing. I can't not want that for my future. So I feel like my whole thinking about how I treat my body is different. And it's just a whole different way of thinking.
And there's a wisdom, because you've even said to me, both of you guys have, you'll be like, oh my God, one of my friends is doing this. This is so crazy. And it's, it's always stuff where there's some kind of shakes involved, or some kind of crazy, like somebody came to me with, what are you guys about? You have to drink, I have a frog in my throat today, what was it? Like a cup of water for every pound of body weight or something. Like it was water toxicity, basically, something crazy that their gym had told them. Someone else came to me last week about saying you have to a gram of protein for every pound of body weight, which is also like unbelievable. That's totally irresponsible for you, anyone to tell you that. So you guys also now have a wisdom about where I think that we are as a society with all of we're in the information age. We are, you know, we're drowning in information, but we're starving for wisdom about what is actually true and right and makes sense.
Right. Sorting through the misinformation, you know, because so many people, and including myself, they're afraid to death of soy. And I never, you know, that's just a big piece of misinformation that's out there, and how much protein we need, and where we get our protein, and you know, grains are bad for you, and you know, all these pieces of misinformation about how your body needs to, you know, what it needs to operate at its best capacity. Those are things that you've taught us that I can't go back on. Now that I know them, I can't not know them, and I can't choose them. I can't choose those other ways anymore. And in doing that, and in moving forward over time, it gives you a sense of being empowered in your own choices, because of all the other times we've tried and failed. I feel like that just makes us like mistrust ourselves and mistrust our own voice. And now that I feel like I've done this, and I know what I'm doing, and I've seen the changes, that makes me feel more confident in my choices going forward.
Right. You feel like you get it.
I get it now. Like I finally get it. So.
Right. Linda says the teaching in this program is key. You're not just given an outline and left on your own. There's a book, access to videos on several topics, coaching calls, and ongoing support from the group. It's a lifetime access. Lori often goes live at random moments with inspiring thoughts. The mindset tools are amazing. So what about you, LT? How has your thinking changed?
I think with all these other programs I had tried before, I feel like that I was on that little raft and I was just clinging on, like I had one foot in and one foot out, but I was just clinging, hoping, you know. But this, I feel like I'm not hanging. I feel like I have control.
Solid
I feel
ground.
like I have finally got control. It's just you're not derailing me. I mean, it is so black and white to me. I am not doing it. And I feel good about it. I don't feel like, oh, but yeah. No, don't want to. And that also feel like that I'm balanced. I feel like that I just am so in alignment on so many different cylinders. It's not just this. It is so many different. It's my temperament. It's my disposition. It's my attitude. It's my outlook. I'm still, you know, I'm not working with a trainer anymore, but I'm still going to a gym because I like to work out. That's just part of me. That's part of my day. I'm doing higher resistance and doing higher speeds and doing and feeling better to challenge myself. I'm having to keep upping it. And I'm not living in this state of soreness and all that, but I'm still getting this heart pumping exercise. So it's funny how when I was hanging on, please let me hang on, you know, all this stuff, what still was not working. I've let go. I've accepted it. I've made this my tunnel vision, and all of this stuff is coming to me.
Well,
it's really coming my way.
What I hear you say too is you're becoming self-accountable.
Very self-accountable.
It's not just because at the beginning you were talking about how it's so great that you need this accountability and you love having the group, but yet having this has also made you more self-reliant.
Very much so.
That is the best feeling. It's great to have a group. I love our group. If you've never experienced our group, there's nothing I can say to you that can properly explain it. But being self-reliant, that is where the magic, I mean, that is like when you feel like I have got this, I'm in control, I'm empowered, I get it, I'm moving forward. That is just such an amazing feeling.
It really is. And I'm doing it in a way that's very humble And I'm doing it in a way that is, I'm really not out here, you know, with my little peacock feathers in the air, because I have done that before.
We've
And
all,
that's a long fall, but I am
Mhm.
grateful. I'm thankful. I'm humble. I am so appreciative. And that is the way that I want to help other women, because I really, truly, in my heart of hearts, feel like I've learned so much from you and from the group that I want to pay it forward. You have this need to want to share, to talk about. You want them to have that success, because it is not something that you can describe when you have this sense of control and peace and balance and alignment. And this is not hanging, and it's not right here every day, every day, every day. I mean, it's a total freedom.
I think
It really is.
that's something I hear consistently, you know, over the years from women, is that they feel lighter, not just in their body, but in their heart and in their mind. You just feel lighter.
In their
And
spirit. Yes.
it's, yeah. So, and that is really, so when I talk about how a plant-based diet, to kind of wrap this up, is our way out, it's because the weight is a symptom of a lot of the mindset stuff that we have going on. And that mindset stuff is really wrapped up in the standard American diet, in the fact that we're addicted and we can't get out of that loop. In the fact that society sort of has us, you know, trapped in this thing where you have to be perfect, but you'll never be perfect. And that whole thing that leads to self-sabotage. How we don't know how to set boundaries, or we don't know how to set up proper coping mechanisms. That's not something we're taught. At least I was not taught that. So these are things that we do in the group. Not only do we get out from under all of these triggers and get out from that endless loop of the diet industry and the medical industry, and actually start fueling our bodies with real food. But we talk about this stuff in a way of, how do you do life in a more effective way?
Yeah.
How do you do this so that you feel good? It doesn't have to be, I mean, as someone who struggles, you know, I've been very honest that I was diagnosed with dysthymia, which is long-term depression, about 20 years ago. Dysthymia is significant depression for 10 years or more. So at that point, so basically I've dealt with this my whole life. So I understand what it's like to get up every day and just be like staring down the barrel of your day, like, how am I going to get through this day, and just trying to get through it. And I think you two understand that as well, because you don't have to have something like dysthymia to understand what that feels like. But to be able to get out from under that and feel hopeful and positive, it starts with taking care of your body.
It does. It's like I had a monkey on my back all the time. And even when there were happy moments and there were joyful moments and there were still celebrations, but the monkey was still sitting right there because I was thinking about it.
Right.
It's now I am fully present, fully aware, fully joyful when I'm in the moment, because I don't have the dimmer switch on. I don't have the veil, that cloudiness coming, because I was always still a little bit more self-conscious, or a comparison, or, you know, or I was stuffed, or I was eating something that just made me angry. I got to the point where sugar, I could almost feel it making me angry. I really could. And this was way before I was with you. I was like, you know what, when I eat a lot of sugar, I got kind of mad, you know, and it was like, I wonder if there's a connection there. But, you know, I just feel like that's what I mean when I say freedom. You just can experience situations so much differently when you don't have this cloud and this monkey on your back.
Yeah. I think that's, you know, it is like, you know, when you're yo-yo dieting, that feeling when you know you're starting to go back in the wrong direction.
Oh,
you
yes.
know it. That is the worst feeling, when
It's
you're
awful.
you feel it and you're like, no, I'm not going to let it happen. And yet it still is happening. Like, it is so freeing just not to be under that anymore. Like, just to be able, like, this is the way I'm living. I'm not deprived. There's no reason to give up on this. Because
Right.
when you're committed to it, you start feeling amazing. You lose the weight. the food tastes good, you're like, you know what I mean? There's just isn't any reason, but you have to take that step. And at the beginning where you decide that you want to get out of, I love the Matrix because it's such a great analogy for so many things, but you know, they had to ask Neo, like, here's the Matrix where you've been living in all of these rules and everything is a certain way. Do you want the truth, or do you want to stay in the Matrix, you know? And so that's the thing, is like when you choose the truth, it's just so freeing.
It really is. And one thing that I have done that I had never done with all of my years and programs before, I always kept my just in case clothes in the closet. They're gone. I've I've donated my just in case clothes. That was a big moment for me when I did that, because that was security. That was just in case.
That's right. I used to keep mine too. And then I was mad that I didn't keep any, because I was like, I have just one pair of pants just to show people like how big they were. But I had gotten rid of everything. I was like, well, it's gone now.
Gone.
Yeah. So a couple more comments before we go. Tish says, I'm feeling so much more in control of me. I'm making choices and decisions for myself. The support is wonderful, and I love all the videos. I started listening to them driving to work. I catch myself looking at what others are eating and I think, I don't think so. Thank you. And I'm looking forward to the planner. Tammy says, I have the same thing, Lord Petroskin, and however, I've been able to go off my meds with the doctor's help and my therapist. That's awesome. So hopefully that what you're taking away from this is that this lifestyle is so much easier than you think it's going to be. That it really is just a mindset. At the beginning, you don't have to believe in yourself. You just have to commit to it. And when you do, you realize that you start feeling better right away. And then we start doing that mindset work to keep you on the path. I mean, that's the key, is we get rid of the cravings, because that's to get that monkey off your back right away. And then you just start like these guys are saying, it's in the first few days, you're like, what? Like, I'm already feeling different. And that is crazy. When your body gets the right nutrition, it's resilient. It is just begging you right now for the right stuff. And when you give it, then your body's like, yes. And so then once you've got the physical part going, then we come behind you with the mental part, and we are there to support and help you every step of the way as you do this. And it is so worth it. It is so worth it. So
everything's worth it.
It is.
Everything.
It is. It's just, there's like you said, I wish I don't even feel like for a lot of this journey that I have all the words, and I'm a wordy person, to really explain the joy of not having to deal with all of the stuff that I dealt with for years in terms of my mindset and all of the stuff that was going on with my body. You don't have to live that way. You can honestly just choose not to.
And the way I'm looking at it, and this is a mindset that I'm continuously working on, but I am in a place where I'm thanking the past, because it has brought me to where I am today.
Yes.
And I can use this and all the failures and everything to help somebody else. I'm getting to that place. Really, I'm really getting there. And I'm saying thank you to the past, and I'm saying yes to the future.
Yes.
You know, because it happened. Deal with it. It has happened.
Well, right.
We did it. We lived it. We walked around. It is what it is.
And that's what we were saying last night, to all of you guys who are listening to this, either live or on the replay, that, it's easy to feel ashamed, either of where you are now or where you were. But what you have to do is have some compassion for yourself, just like you would, like, I think of it like like a child. Like, here's somebody who was scared and was trying and didn't know what to do and kept failing and kept feeling worse about herself. I'm not mad at that person. I'm not ashamed of her. I'm compassionate, and I want to use that experience. We make meaning of our experiences when we use them to help others.
Right.
And so now that we are all doing that, that is, whether it's in a coaching capacity like we are, or whether it's like so many of the women that we work with are helping their family members or their, coworkers or their friends, whatever the case might be, then that's how we help. And that's how we make meaning out of our experiences. And it's not a shameful thing. It's that, if that wouldn't have happened, I wouldn't have, made it to where I am right now. And we're in such a good place. We can't be hating on that other girl.
Right.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah. So thank you so much, everybody. I always plan to keep this to an hour, but we've been going over because there's such awesome conversations. Remember too, that when you watch these, that you don't have to watch us. I mean, we are amazing to watch, I know, but you can listen. You can just listen to it. So if you're in the car or you're, on the road or whatever the thing is, out for a walk, you can just listen to these as well, like a podcast. So thank you so much for tuning in. If you have any questions or comments, post them below and we'll be coming through and looking at later in the day. It was great to have you. If you have any questions at all about the program, please private message one of us and we'll be happy to talk to you about that. And have an amazing weekend. We'll see you next week.
Okay. See ya.